Hello, hello, hello. My name is SpectrumDominus, and I'll be your game tender this afternoon. And today we're going to be talking about Money in the Bank 2016. I'm going to be making my predictions. We are a little over 24 hours away from the pay-per-view, and a lot of my viewers want to know what I think about it. Now, I am using the match list that you can find on Wikipedia.com. The important reason that I point this out is because I knew of 8 matches for Money in the Bank, 2 of which are pre-show matches. In every prediction video that I've seen so far, they've been predicting that the Dolph Ziggler-Baron Corbin match that was said as a pre-show match and the Apollo Crews-Sheamus match that was said as a pre-show match as the 2 pre-show matches. However, if you go to Wikipedia.com, they've got those matches listed as regular matches, and they have 2 other matches listed as this year's pre-show matches. I'm going to predict those 2 other matches. I'm not saying they exist. I know not have heard anything about it. Aside from Wikipedia, which I know can be faked, I know nothing about these matches. But if they happen, if some inside source has put that on Wikipedia, I'm going to have the predictions there just in case. What they will do with it, what they should do with them, whatever, and why they may actually be actual matches. Alright, so to start off with, the first match that they have listed for the pre-show is the Lucha Dragons versus the Dudley Boys. Now, the first reason why I believe this match might be a match is because they've already stated, they've multiple times stated that this is the best Money in the Bank ever, which is, I believe, a true statement when you're looking at it from a pre-event situation. When you look at just the card, this is the best Money in the Bank card we've ever seen going in. Now, they have a lot to live up to because Money in the Bank is typically one of the better pay-per-views of the year. So whether it comes out as one of the best pay-per-views is a different story. But going in, I agree that this is one of the best Money in the Bank cards they've ever had. And they're treating it almost like a mini WrestleMania. And because of that, and with it being on the WWE Network, they have the ability to expand it. They have the ability to not stop at that 11 o'clock and push it to 11:30 or even 12. We've seen them do that before in WrestleMania this year, where they started an hour early but still went an hour late. With their own network, they have that ability, especially when they've been preaching it as exclusively on the WWE Network. So I predict that there's a 100% chance that this goes over 11 o'clock if these 2 matches are added. Even if these 2 matches are not added, I still think it goes over a little. We've seen it go a couple times to 11:15 or something like that. It's because they don't have to hurry up and end so that they can restart the pay-per-view at 11 o'clock. They don't have that limitation anymore. So that's one reason why I believe it. The second reason, and the reason why this match kind of makes sense, is everyone knows about the brand split by now. And everyone understands that it's kind of going to be, in some way, Shane versus Stephanie. There will be a competitive nature to it, and probably at some point an invasion-esque angle to it. Now, when I say invasion angle, I don't necessarily mean one taking over the other and invading their show. To me, what an invasion angle, it almost always involves that invasion, but the point of an invasion angle is to have one grouping that is bad guys and good guys having to work together for a common purpose against another grouping that is good guys and bad guys. When we had the WCW, ECW invasion angle, it was a case of the good guys and bad guys of the WWE coming together against the good guys and bad guys of the WCW, having to fight that common foe. And that is what makes an invasion angle great. That time of storyline where Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns hate each other but are fighting together for the betterment of what's going on. So that is what is truly great about an invasion angle. And they're setting one up with the Raw SmackDown, but I don't believe that that's all they're setting up. And we've heard them talk in the past, over the past month to 2 months, about this new era. And the one thing I like about it is they're not forcing it down our throats. They're interjecting it in a lot of different matches here and there. They're getting a lot of different people to say it. You have Sheamus hating on the New Era. You have Dolph calling Baron Corbin from the New Era. You have the announcers talking about the New Era when old people, and when I say old people, anyone that's not an NXT alumni is the best way to, or indie alumni recently, is not the best way to think about it. The Randy Ortons, the Kanes, the Big Shows, the Dolph Zigglers, the John Cenas, the old era. That anytime they're at commentary, they mention it sometime in the commentary, but they're not shoving it down our throats. I believe they're setting up a secondary invasion-esque angle, and it's, like I said, it's not an invasion, but it's where Dolph Ziggler and Sheamus, one's a good guy, one's a bad guy, they don't like each other, but they're both from the old era, fighting Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, again, from the new era. Now, I think that they got to be careful with how they do this, and I think that they started setting this up before they decided they were splitting the brands. So they're still talking about it, but I don't know how you do two invasion angles kind of simultaneously. So that'll be interesting. Now, the reason I bring this up is this pay-per-view, when you look at it, almost across the board, can be argued as new era versus old era. They haven't marketed it that way. Kalisto and the Lucha Dragons, new era, versus Dudley Boys and old era. John Cena versus AJ Styles, new versus old. Half of the ladder match, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Dean Ambrose, all came from NXT. Alberto Del Rio, Cesaro, Chris Jericho, all here. The New Day versus Luke Gallows, Enzo Amore, and Vaudevillains. Titus O'Neil and Rusev. Now that one's kind of hard, but Rusev is still an NXT alumni. Charlotte Dana Brooks, and you have Natalya on the other side. Ziggler and Baron Corbin, Apollo Crews and Sheamus. All these matches can be almost every one, not the main event, and there's a couple of those that are a little bit of a stretch. But for the most part, you can say this whole pay-per-view has been split from new era to old era versus each other, which is why I believe that these two pre-show matches, the Lucha Dragons versus the Dudley Boys, and the second one, which I hadn't stated yet, the Golden Truth, two members of the old era, and Breezango, two members that came from NXT, again, it is something that very much they may be putting into this new era, old era thing into effect starting Sunday. Which, I mean, they've teased it, but we may see something. If they want to push that storyline now, this may be the pay-per-view for them to do it. So if this match happens, I'm going to say that the Lucha Dragons win. Now, I can go on record and say WWE has in the past done all heels win this pay-per-view, or all faces win this pay-per-view. And if they decide that all new era win this pay-per-view, if they just run the new era thing so that they can go and make this happen, then I am going to be wrong on a couple of my predictions. They could very easily do that. If they're going to mix it up, then I have to kind of decide, well, they're giving a few news here, and so an old one will win there. I think more new era wins than old era, and if that's the case, and they're going to try to keep it even, then the Dudley Boys will pull this one out. There's no real need for this match, any one of the teams to win. I think that the Dudley Boys... I'd like to see the Dudley Boys get one more reign before they're gone. But they're just losing to everyone. The match in itself is almost non-important. I think it's more of either a balancing act. There's too many new eras winning. Let's give the Dudley Boys a match. Or they're trying to overload one side to have almost or all the wins, and that will. That's why they've added these matches so they can say Lucha Dragons won, etc., etc., etc. So that's what I have for that. I don't have much more about that match. Same thing with the Golden Truth and Breezango. I'd like to believe, and I'm going to go with the fact that they're going to split their wins. They're going to go a little of both. I'd like to believe that they're done with this feud. Golden Truth and the Golden Truth are one of the funniest things going right now. Aside from the New Day, or equal to the New Day, they are hilarious to watch in backstage segments. They have some amusing times in the ring as well. But I don't really care about watching them wrestle. I want to see their comedy. I want to see it. So you could go with they lose this match and then they keep going with the we can't win, why are we going? I'd like to believe that they're ready to win this match, end their fight with Breezango, celebrate, and be very over the top with their celebration for their first win. I know they've won at house shows, but for all intents and purposes, this is their first win. So I see them winning this, ending that feud, and coming up with more things to be funny about. I don't think that the losing thing for them retains that much humor. And seeing as that's what they were there for, the humor, I think they win this match. Now, the next two matches I'm going to talk about are the two pre-show matches that we've been told about. The first one, Dolph Ziggler and Baron Corbin. I see no world where Baron Corbin does not win this match. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, they're ready to push Dolph Ziggler. All right, we've made a mistake. Dolph Ziggler needs to win some matches. Let's get Dolph Ziggler some wins. Great. Doing it against Baron Corbin does nothing for him. Baron Corbin has fought no one yet except Dolph Ziggler. And all that means is he won the rubber match against the guy that is even to him or whatever. You could easily have Ziggler lose this and start winning tomorrow or on July 19th when he splits brands. Once he's on SmackDown or Raw with half the roster, now we start having him win, and it doesn't hurt him to lose to Corbin here. Corbin, however, should be put on SmackDown with the likes of, theoretically, Kevin Owens and maybe Bray Wyatt. And at that point, Corbin could theoretically be the third biggest heel on the brand. If done right, Corbin could be one of the biggest heels on the B show that they say there's not going to be a B show. If that's the case, if that's where they're going, if that's what they do, which is what I believe they want to do with him. He's a big, tall guy, he's a big, strong guy, and it's what Vince McMahon tends to lean towards. He wins this match. He has to keep himself looking good. Also, if you're going to do the new era looking good over the old era, Baron Corbin beating Dolph Ziggler makes sense. There is no world where Baron Corbin loses this match. He has to win this match. So that's another new era guy, and it's Baron Corbin win. Then you have Apollo Crews versus Sheamus. Again, I feel like this should go to Apollo Crews. Now, I'm kind of hesitant about saying that. Apollo Crews is clearly someone they like. He has the look. He has a great attitude. I'm not convinced that he can be a world champion just because I haven't seen any depth. I haven't seen him play a heel. I haven't seen him. He has the skills in the ring. He's very, agile for a big guy. He has the strength. I think he's going to be fine. I like him in the ring more than I like, say, a Bobby Lashley, which is the previous guy that they try to do this kind of thing to. But I don't think that, just like Lashley isn't buyable as a bad guy, as a heel, I don't buy Lashley as a heel. I have trouble believing I'm going to buy Apollo Crews as a heel. And if he can't be a heel, he can't be a world champion. That being said, I don't think they're ready to give up on him. So I think that a win here is most likely. It's just so sad to say 1 year ago today, and not necessarily the day of the year, but Money in the Bank, Sheamus was winning Money in the Bank. And 6 months ago, he was our world champion. Yet now he's going to be losing in the pre-show to a guy who hasn't even fought a match yet. He has fought nothing but jobbers and is getting his first match against Sheamus. And he's about to be the world champion and former Money in the Bank winner of last year. So I can see them giving this to Sheamus because of that. I can see them saying, we don't want Apollo Crews to turn into Goldberg or even Rusev. We don't want him to accidentally run into a long undefeated streak. So let's get the loss out of the way. They've never mentioned the undefeated streak. I believe he's still undefeated because he hasn't fought anybody. I may be wrong on that. There's a slight tinge in the back of my head saying, no, someone screwed him and he's already lost. I don't remember that, but it could have happened. But if he's undefeated, give him the loss on a pre-show match. It doesn't matter. I don't think it slows him down too much, especially if Sheamus pulls some kind of cheat thing. So they could give this to Sheamus, but I'm going to say that Apollo Crews gets this and they start pushing him in the right direction. We'll see how that goes. The pre-show matches, for me, are the hardest to predict because all of those don't really matter. This is where things get a little easier for me. The next match is Charlotte and Dana Brooks versus Natalya and Becky Lynch. I've gone back and forth on this one as well. I said this is where it gets easier, but actually this is kind of difficult in a different way. I believe that the reason that this match is happening is because right now they want to focus on Dana Brooks. They're saying they're not saying this, but they're taking the division in the wrong way. They're not focusing on their best talent. They're not. I thought Sasha Banks was injured, but she was on Superstars this week fighting Summer Rae. So clearly she's back and ready to wrestle, but she's not there. She's not fighting Charlotte for the title. Becky's not fighting Charlotte for the title. No one's fighting Charlotte for the title. They're going with a tag team thing. I really feel like they want to focus on Dana Brooks. And because of that, they didn't want to do Dana Brooks versus, say, Natalya or Becky, because everyone would be saying, why isn't the champ defending her title? So they created this tag team match for that very reason, because rather than having Charlotte versus someone for the title, what they wanted was Dana Brooks, which tells me that this match is for Dana Brooks. And if that's the case, I feel like Dana Brooks comes out with a pin here. Also, Dana Brooks costing Charlotte the match to Paige this week. She says to her, that better not happen again at the pay-per-view. I feel, personally, that it's too early for a Dana Brooks versus Charlotte breakup. They've got to string that out a little longer. And because of that, we don't want them taking a loss and having that statement, this better not happen at the pay-per-view, having no meaning. So all that leads me to believe Charlotte and Dana, and that's going to be my pick, is Charlotte and Dana are going to win this match. That being said, a non-title match for the championship, with the champion in it, is almost always the case where Becky can pin Charlotte, and now Becky's the number one contender again, and we go forward. Anytime the champion is in a tag team match, it's a perfect chance to beat the champion without the champion losing the title. So that's what it looks like to me from that standpoint. But with Paige pinning Charlotte twice, or beating Charlotte twice in the last month, I feel like they already have their top contender set up. I feel like Charlotte Paige is the next thing to come out of this, and this is all for Dana Brooks. So I'm going Charlotte, Dana Brooks over Becky and Natalya. The next match they have listed is Titus O'Neil challenging Rusev for the United States Championship. This one, again, is one that they could sneak me with a win if they wanted to say, well, John Cena is going to be fighting AJ Styles over the course of the next 2 to 3 months in a AJ Styles John Cena program. And Cena is who we want to take on Rusev to do the belt, which is what everyone is predicting at this point. It's what I thought was going to happen. Since they can't do that yet, Rusev needs someone to beat up for a couple months. So it's possible that he's just going to beat Titus O'Neil maybe once or twice, and then one other person once or twice. Or they could pull a Titus wins the belt, but Rusev wins it back on the next pay-per-view. That could happen. They do that to us every once in a while. But from the long story, Rusev is going to keep the title. And because of that, and because Rusev kind of just won it, I think having him lose this match to Titus weakens that immediate push, that really big, yes, he came back and broke Kalisto in half. So he did that, and it kind of pumped him again. And to lose to Titus here would be a mistake. So I'm going Rusev in this. He holds on to the title. He either works 2 matches with Titus and then moves on to someone else to work 2 matches before moving on. By that time, the brands will be split and they'll have a better idea of what's going on. Or he fights Titus for 3 to 4 months and he loses to Titus at some point before winning it back. But that's what's going to happen. The next match they have is the Tag Team Championship Fatal 4-Way. New Day versus Gallows and Anderson, the club, versus Enzo Amore and Kaz versus Vaudevillains. To me, this is a 2-horse race. As much as you may like Enzo and Kaz, I think they are more focused on getting Kaz into the singles ranks and having Enzo be more of a mouthpiece for him. They'll still fight tag team matches when they want Enzo to fight. When Kaz is getting in a fight with a singles guy that has a partner type person, they'll make them tag or something like that. But I don't see them getting the titles on them and doing that any long term anytime recently. So the 2-horse race is Anderson and Gallows. We all know the Vaudevillains are out of this. There's no chance they're winning it. So Anderson and Gallows or the New Day. Now Anderson and Gallows 150% of the time are winning the tag team belts. If there wasn't a different situation here, and the different situation is that New Day is, I think, 2 weeks away from having the longest tag team reign in the history of the WWE. New Day has sold them a lot of merchandise. New Day has done everything they're supposed to do. They're doing great matches in the ring. They got the crowd eating out of their hands. They want to reward New Day. They're going to keep the titles here, and Anderson and Gallows will win it they'll win it at SummerSlam if they've broken the streak by then, which I believe they will. It'll be a straight match, Anderson and Gallows versus New Day, and Anderson will win it, and Gallows will win it there. And if it's not, then it'll be the pay-per-view after that. And it's got to be by then. So Anderson and Gallows will win it at SummerSlam. New Day will keep it here just because they're going to give them the streak. They have to. They deserve it. Who remembers Spanky and Paul London? Who cares about Spanky and Paul London? They don't deserve to hold that record. The New Day do. So that they're going to keep that just for that purpose. The next match, I'm going to skip over the ladder match they have listed. The next match they have is John Cena versus AJ Styles. Now, this one a lot of people have questions about. I think this, to me, seems, well, I don't want to say obvious. Here's the thing. To me, this very easily can be Sting versus Triple H or Booker T versus Triple H. Sting was the heart and soul of WCW. He was WCW, and he was facing WWE when they fought. And Vince McMahon is the type of person who says, my baby, my creation cannot be beat by the other creation. Anything you had is not as good as anything we have. So, Triple H beats Sting at WrestleMania. Booker T at that time was essentially the last remnants of WCW, and Triple H was the leader of WWE and had the belt. He was the leader of WWE, and they fought, and it was WCW's leader versus the last champion of WCW versus the last champion of WWE, and they could not have the last champion beat the current champion of WWF, proving that something WWE had was better than something WCW had. Strike that, reverse it. Something WCW had was better than something WWE had. So he beats Triple H beats Booker T. This could very, very, very easily be Vince McMahon saying AJ Styles is TNA. He is the heart and soul of TNA. He is anyone who's ever really watched TNA the first name you think of is AJ Styles. And John Cena is WWE. And nothing that I create will ever be beaten by something that TNA created. And John Cena squashes him. It could happen. I want to stand here and say I believe in the WWE. They have screwed us so many times in the past, but I believe them to not make that mistake. If you go and you have AJ Styles pick up a contract and say, I am not a punk, I'm going to sign this contract because I can beat you without Gallows and Anderson, and then lose to Cena, it just weakens him. At that point, if Cena beats him straight up clean, after him signing that, after him saying, I know I can beat you, so I will sign this, if that happens, then I would rather him have had signed the other one and the club get involved and beat up Cena. Because that would have been better, storyline-wise. So I have to say AJ Styles wins this first one. I'm hoping they treat it like Kevin Owens beating John Cena. Kevin Owens comes in, first match with John Cena loses to Kevin Owens. After that, Cena takes a win. It goes back and forth a couple times. Cena comes out on top. Guys, Cena is going to come out on top. It's going to happen. Cena is going to come out on top. I hope that AJ Styles wins this match to start off the rivalry. And I believe he will. I trust in them that he will. Now, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. This one is easy. This is the easiest one to pick. There is no argument here, at least as far as who leaves with the title. Now, I may pick Roman Reigns. I am going to pick Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns wins this match. He should win clean. He should hold up the title. I have beat Seth Rollins. There's a couple other things that could happen, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. I'll bring this match back in, loop it back. But Seth Rollins will not leave with the title. That's not going to happen. Seth Rollins could get frustrated and beat him up with a chair, and Roman wins because of that. Someone could come down and interfere and beat up Seth Rollins, and then Seth Rollins win. I'm not going to argue, okay, I picked Roman Reigns, but Seth Rollins won by countout. The important thing is Roman Reigns is not going to lose the title to Seth Rollins. And that is a guarantee. I guarantee that one. Not going to happen, okay? So then finally, you have the ladder match. You have Kevin Owens, Cesaro, Alberto Del Rio, Sami Zayn, Dean Ambrose, and Chris Jericho. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start at the bottom, number 6, and work my way up to the top of least likely to most likely. Now, let me start out by saying the 7th participant. The original plan was to have 7 members of the ladder match. They did 5 qualifying matches on Raw the first week. And then on SmackDown, they did 1 qualifying match for Alberto Del Rio. And then the picture was put up with the 6 participants and a blank guy for a 7th participant later. And then it just disappeared. The blank guy disappeared, and it's been just the 6 of them. Now, I truly believe that after seeing the chemistry these 6 people had, that the WWE decided we do not need a 7th person, let's just drop that. 7 was always a weird number anyway, because in any situation, you couldn't have tag team. You had a tag team match, and then 2 singles and a singles match, and then someone left out. Or you had a 6-man tag match, or you had 3 singles matches. There's always someone left out. 7 is such an odd number for them to do. So that was weird, but I thought that's why they did it the way they were doing it. Let us fight our 6-man tag matches, and singles matches against each other, and we'll bring that last guy in at the end. Now, I predicted who it might be. I mentioned, I believe, 3 names. I said it might be Randy Orton, it might be Finn Balor, or it might be, and I'm trying to think of the third name I said, but I think that those 2 are the most likely. Randy Orton's return or Finn Balor's return. Oh, Bray Wyatt, if he's returning. That one is a little bit further stretched, just because I don't think that Bray Wyatt comes back to the ladder match. I think he comes back to vignettes and interrupting people. So I don't think that happens. If they add him in, if Randy Orton comes back, if Finn Balor is added to the match, they have a place high up on my list. A secret entrant, it all of a sudden jumps to most likely one or two. But I'm going to leave those out because I have not heard any rumors saying that it is going to happen. I've only heard rumors that say it has now been changed to 6, and that is, I'm going to stay with that. We're going to give you the top 6 in order from bottom to top. So, number 6 for me is Alberto Del Rio. Now, there's always a chance that, now first of all, there's a chance that any of these people can win. Any one of these people can win it. And for that, I need to take a step sideways and talk about the brand split. All right. Now, with the brand split, I'm assuming comes a second world belt of some sort. Now, I'm not saying it's not that they're going to split the WWE World Heavyweight Championship in 2 again. They may leave the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and then they may make a SmackDown Championship or something along those lines. We'll talk about that with the brand split. For now, we're just going to say World Title Raw, World Title SmackDown, okay? Somehow they'll have to have a World Title belt on both shows. So, what that does, what that allows them to do, and this includes the Royal Rumble too, but I won't talk much about that. We'll talk about that when we talk about the brand split. What that does is it allows them to have someone who is not ready win the Money in the Bank like they did in the past. Over the past couple years, we've seen people like Sheamus, former world champion, Seth Rollins, obvious ready for the world championship at the time he won it, win the Money in the Bank ladder match. And that was what that happened. Those are the 2 people that have won it since they put the belts back together. All right? But now that they've split it, they can go back to The Miz, Jack Swagger, Dolph Ziggler. And when these people win it, and when they cash in and become world champions, it's okay because you can still have the other world belt main event WrestleMania. You can still have Dolph Ziggler testing out the championship. Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens or Dean Ambrose or Cesaro testing out a world championship run while Roman Reigns or John Cena or Randy Orton or whatever, someone who's established, has the other belt on the Brock Lesnar has the other belt on the other side. That is what they've given us back by resplitting these brands. So any of these guys can win it. If there was one belt, I would say there is no way Sami Zayn could win it. He's just not ready yet. But if there's the world belt and all the major people on one side, and then the indie-esque people on the other side, and your champion happens to be Kevin Owens, and the people chasing him are AJ Styles and Cesaro, then Sami Zayn with the Money in the Bank is a viable option. Now that I've mentioned that, let's go back to what you tend to want. You tend to want a bad guy having the Money in the Bank. Why do you want a bad guy having the Money in the Bank? First of all, the cash-ins make more sense. 2 of the most prominent faces that had the Money in the Bank were John Cena and RVD. What did they do? They cashed it in advance. John Cena gave CM Punk a week. RVD cashed in one night stand. John Cena failed to win. RVD did win against John Cena. What did that do? It took away all the I'm going to run down and cash it in while you're knocked out excitement. That is the whole purpose of Money in the Bank. So when you're a face, you will look like a heel cashing that in wrong. Now, there are some exceptions to the rule. There are definitely some exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, Sami Zayn's running down and cashing in that Money in the Bank on champion Dean Ambrose or champion, not AJ Styles because he's a heel now, but even cashing in on a heel, a liked heel. If Seth Rollins wins the title and has the title, and then Sami Zayn comes in and cashes it out on him, it's going to make Sami Zayn look heely. And so from that reasoning, you want it on a heel-esque character. So that being said, let me get to the list now. Number 6 is Alberto Del Rio. Now, Alberto Del Rio is a heel. Alberto Del Rio is someone who has another championship run in him. But I don't think they do it this way, and the reason why I don't think they do it this way is because of last year. The sour taste in the fans' mouth of Sheamus winning it. and then Sheamus cashing in and having the title. And that length of Sheamus's run, 3 or 4 months of Sheamus with the title, and us all just seeing Sheamus and Alberto Del Rio right now, because of their connection through the League of Nations, being the same person essentially. They don't want to do that to us 2 years in a row. Listen, again, if that's your plan, WWE, listen to this video and change your plans right now. You do not want to do that to the fans 2 years in a row. Anyone else is better than Alberto Del Rio. I love Alberto Del Rio. I want him to win the championship again. I do not want you to pull a Sheamus 2 years in a row here. Number 5 is Sami Zayn, and mainly for the reasons I stated. Sami Zayn, of the rest of them, are the newest to the roster. He's the least ready for a world title run, and he is the facest of them. He is so babyface on his face, on the face side. The other one, Cesaro, has had a heel run. Dean Ambrose is his crazy, complex character comes off Steve Austin anti-hero and can be categorized very heelish as well. Sami is so babyface, it would make a cash-in from him very difficult. So Sami Zayn is number 5. He can't win. Those are the 2 that I take out as possibilities anyway. The next 4 are the most likely in my opinion, obviously, because I have them 4. Number 4 is Cesaro. Cesaro is almost my I hope they do this. I like him so much. I think that he's given so much being there the last 4 years. I think that he came in and seemed so useless, and he has won so many people over, both Mark and anti-Mark. I think that of everyone there, he probably deserves it the most. But I don't think they buy into him. I still think they don't buy into him, so I don't think he's very likely to win this. I think that someone else goes over. And I just hope I'm wrong. That's who I would like to win it. I think that they could do a lot of fun stuff with that, but we'll see what happens. Next is Chris Jericho. Of the 2 heels left, Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens, both have that pompous, I am Mr. Money in the Bank, look at me, I told you how great I am thing going for them. Both of them can pull that off great. I like the idea of giving them this to Jericho for the sole purpose of he's done almost everything in the WWE. And this is one of the things he hasn't done. He's definitely getting towards the end of his career, but they could justify giving this to him. He gets himself a Money in the Bank win before he retires. He can even cash in. Now, he could cash in and be the 3rd person that never got successfully cashed in. They want to pump up Roman Reigns. We're not going to get into the argument of should they or shouldn't they Roman Reigns. They like Roman Reigns. Have Jericho cash in on Roman Reigns and then lose, and Roman Reigns win 2 matches in a night, including beating Jericho after already having fought a match. They could go that route. Or, I like better, in the November, December, January type area, let him win it, cash it in at Survivor Series, win the title from Roman Reigns, and then lose it again in January at the Royal Rumble. Give him a small title run before the end of his career. I don't mind that. So Chris Jericho, I see likely makes more sense than any of the other 3, and one that although I'm not a big Jericho fan, especially of his recent work, I would be kind of happy with that if they did that for him. I think he deserves it as well. Then the top 2 and the most obvious 2 are Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose. Number 2 for me is is Kevin Owens, and the reason why is Kevin Owens is the most obvious. He is the heel. He is the one that it makes more sense for. He is the pompous asshole who goes around. But I'm going to give you 2 reasons why I think that he's number 2. One, because he's the most obvious. I think they go away from the most obvious. And 2, my prediction is Kevin Owens is going to be the first champion of the second brand. Whatever championship that they put the WWE World Heavyweight title on, The other one's going to have some kind of a tournament or something, and I predict Kevin Owens is going to win that and be the champion. And because of that, he won't need the Money in the Bank briefcase. So, because of that, and yes, he could be fun running in and almost cashing it in, but I see Dean Ambrose as the choice here. Now, it does hurt his case a little that he did that Ambrose Asylum. The Ambrose Asylum, him saying, I'm going to win it and cash it in that night. I do see that as a kind of hurting the case. But I still think that he wins it. And I think that his character lends to him running down and almost cashing it in. I also see a lot of good story and a lot of good clips coming out of Roman Reigns being the champion, but Dean Ambrose, his best friend, being Mr. Money in the Bank, and just kind of jabbing him every once in a while. I still got this. You're only champion until I'm ready to take it away. In that playful way they had back when they were both going for the title. And it may, they could even build it up to it where it gets heated and then builds back down like they did back then. But I see that as you get the most from it. Also, if he wins that title, he wins the Money in the Bank briefcase, there is no reason for him to sit in the back and watch on a monitor. At that point, that championship match, he comes out, and then you have all three members of the Shield. Roman Reigns, the champion, Seth Rollins, the number one contender, and Dean Ambrose, Mr. Money in the Bank, the third member of the Shield, at ringside while the match is going on. A constant reminder that he may cash in. That, and even he may be the distraction that causes Seth Rollins to lose the match. That's a very big possibility. He does not cash in, but I expect him to win and be at ringside. And that's what I mean about bringing the world title back. Rollins loses cleanly, or at least loses because he's distracted by Dean Ambrose. And then he didn't lose exactly cleanly, but he did lose to Roman Reigns. Dean Ambrose walks with the title. And then I could go on to tell you how I would write his Money in the Bank run, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to say those are my predictions for Money in the Bank this year. If you like this video, make sure you click the like button, click the subscribe, and follow my channel. Post in the comment section if you'd like to see me do any other specific content videos. I'd be happy to do any and all videos that you can come up with and think of wrestling related. I also am working on another wrestling channel with my brother. We tried to do a prediction show but had technical difficulties. Check the info section for a link to that video, and we'll see you next time. Check me out at twitch.tv/SpectrumDominus, and I'll see you guys after Money in the Bank.